Hey guys, how are you? It's been ages since I've made a video, and I think it's because we've gone into winter and I normally sit on my porch and do them, or I'm at the beach doing them, and I'm like, hang on a minute, it's been months. So I do a live now every Monday on my public profile, but I don't often do anything on my business profile video, and that's probably because I've been told that you need to do a lot more on your public profile. So hey, that's just a point of view though, isn't it? So here I am. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the construct and paradigm that we live in, that we have to solve problems. And we are trained in this from very, very young. And how are we trained in this? We're trained in it because when we're little, we think there's nothing wrong with us. We think we are just this whole holistic being. And then suddenly something happens and we have a point of view about ourselves, or we're told something from family or teacher or whatever, and we are then rewiring into our brains up to the age of about 8 or 10. We're wiring in those patterns of there's something wrong, the measuring, that I have to be better, I have to compare myself, I'm not being good, I'm being bad, I'm not right, I'm wrong. And we're in these patterns very young. But when we're first born, we don't have those patterns. Our brain's in theta, and it's like a photocopier. We're just copying other people's patterns into our brain. Sorry, there's just cars coming as well. So we're in this problem-solving construct, but actually it's not truly who we are. And if we stay in it, we stay in patterns. We stay in patterns of lack. We stay in patterns of we're not good enough. And we're constantly trying to fix that pattern. And that creates an underlying tension. So imagine it like a rubber band. There's a rubber band, you're at one end, and your identity is saying to you, your brain, your subconscious pattern is saying to you, I'm not good enough. So because I'm not good enough, I've got to go and do this personal development course and I'll be better. I'll have more worthiness, I'll have some tools. And then what we do is we stretch out to that new tool, that new program. But if we haven't got ourselves out of the problem-solving loop, what happens? It's like the rubber band pulls us back. Our identity, our subconscious pattern will actually pull us back. There's this tension all the time. We have a tension between trying to fix ourselves, trying to fix the so-called problem we have, and then that actual point of view we have that's limited, that subconscious stuff, or sometimes it's conscious too, will pull us back to the old reality. And our brain's like that too. Our brain doesn't want us to change. It's just how it's wired. So we get pulled back all the time. So we're constantly in this loop of reaching forward, doing personal development, getting a new tool, and then that pattern coming back to pull us back. And it's like this really strong rubber band. Think about dieting. You think you're overweight. You think you're not eating well. You think you should be eating a different way. So you go to try and eat healthily, and you go to eat. Eating becomes the tension because we're told don't eat too much, cut out what you're eating. And then you go to eat. There's a tension. Even though we have to eat to live, because you think you're overweight, even the mere fact that you are eating and cooking dinner causes tension. Because to be out of that overweight space, we have to cut what we're eating or change what we're eating. But what if there was something different? What if you didn't have to be in this constant pull, this infinity loop, this rubber band that pulls you back and forth and keeps you in the polarity? Sorry, there's a big truck. I'm just going to wait. Keeps you in the polarity of the brain, because the brain does this. It does right and wrong, good and bad, left and right. That's all it can do. So when we're doing this constant trying to solve problems, we're just staying in our old brain pattern. It's actually not shifting it. And you notice how you'll take a tool on, if you still believe this is the way it is, you'll take a tool on board and then you'll stop using the tool. Or you'll take a tool on board, but that old thing will come back up again, the old chestnut, the old thinking, and you go back to smoking again, or you go back to whatever thing you think is wrong with you again. And we've all done this, and I used to do this too. But what if there was a different way? What if it wasn't about solving those underlying problems that you have? What if there is no problem? What if there never was a problem? What if you're a complete whole being, regardless of what your brain says, regardless of what the patterns say, and regardless of what you've been told by other people? Because that's just judgment. So what if you could create your life rather than try and solve it? What if you were in a creating space where you created the choice to be happy and joyful and grateful regardless of what your brain said, regardless of what other people said to you, and regardless of what you've been told by society? You don't have to fix this unworthiness stuff that you think you have. You don't have to fix this I'm not enough stuff that you think you have. That's not going to work. It's going to keep you in this infinity loop and this underlying tension like a rubber band where you'll try and stretch forward, but your old identity, your old points of views are just going to pull you back. Don't do it, guys. It's like insanity. So we are trained in this insanity. So what about creating your life? There's a big dog. What about creating your life? What about using tools that help you to get out of your head, out of that lower consciousness, out of your identity, self-consciousness, ego, and into a quantum super consciousness that just creates regardless of what your brain says, regardless of who you're resisting and reacting to, regardless of what your mum said to you when you were little. What if you could do that and be that? Because that's what I do, and that's how I work with people, is to take them to that new space outside of the old problem-solving paradigm. Time to stop this, guys. It is so destructive on our bodies. It takes us into fright and fight. We're fighting other people. We go into resistance and reaction to ourselves, and then we resist and react to others, and we resist ourselves all the time and react and judge ourselves. It keeps us in those low hormones that are just driving the heart to keep moving and pumping, keeping us in that adrenaline loop, and then that makes us force ourselves to do things because we're in this heightened state of anxiety or anger, whatever it is, or we're in that depressive state, which comes from this way of being as well, because we haven't managed to solve our problems yet. Hey, there's another way, and the tools that I use, and some other people use too, will support you to do that, to get out of that space. But number one, acknowledge there is nothing wrong with you, number one. Number two, acknowledge you get to create something different. Really choose a different way to be in the world. Number three, take on board some tools that aren't about fixing you. The personal development arena is broken, guys. It's all about us fixing ourselves and getting more self-esteem and more confidence. And do you know most of the most famous people in the world, before they go on stage, they're nervous. Sometimes they're crying, sometimes they're upset. Lady Gaga, apparently. They don't try and fix it. They acknowledge it's there, and then they step out into their superpower. They step out into their strengths and they go, okay, yep, I might have this nervousness that comes from an old pattern, but I'm going to do this anyway, yeah? So there's nothing to fix, but there's something to create. So what could I do today to create my greatest life right away? Who could I be today to create my greatest life right away? Try those questions. Get out of your brain. Get out of those old identity, subconscious patterns, and get into being a super quantum consciousness who is actually operating regardless of all that. Love you guys. Take care.